Okay, so if you need to get a camera to do real estate photography, you have two different options. You have a full frame camera or you have a crop sensor camera. Here's the difference between the two. A full frame camera has a sensor that's the size of like a film strip. So back in the days when we did film, that would equate to a full frame camera. If you get a full frame camera, then what you want to do is get a 17 millimeter lens. If you decide that you're going to get a crop sensor camera, which will still give you the quality that you need to deliver marketable images, that sensor is going to be smaller, and to get the same as a 17 millimeter, you'll need an 11 millimeter lens for that crop sensor camera. So that's something that you want to consider when you're purchasing your camera. Now, if I were in your shoes and you're just starting, just get a crop sensor camera with an 11 millimeter lens. What's really important about that camera though is to make sure that it has automatic exposure bracketing, because when we're doing real estate photography, we're doing HDR exposures. And to create HDR, which is high dynamic range, you need to have automatic exposure bracketing, or AEB, on your camera, so you can do 3, 5, or 7 exposures. So for instance, a really good entry-level camera is an M50 Mark II. It has automatic exposure bracketing. It is a crop sensor, so you would need to get an 11 millimeter lens for that. The other thing that I would highly recommend is that you get a camera that has a flip-out screen. And here's why. I didn't start off with that. But when you're going to photographing a property and you're at about 4 feet, and every single room that you're going into, every corner, you're constantly coming down and you're composing your shot. Now, I switched to a flip out screen because I started having back issues. So since then, what's great about this is that if I come into a room and I've got the flip out screen like this, and I'm standing above it, I can just turn up and I can just look down, and then if it's not level, it's really easy for me to level it by just looking down. The other thing you want to make sure is that you get this double bubble leveler, since I'm talking about leveling right now. You can level it using one of the menu items in your screen, but that takes too long. Again, this is all about efficiency. So the double bubble levelers, in every house is going to be, it's not going to be level in every corner. So if I come into this corner and all I have to do is just look down, level my camera, go do my shot, pick up my camera, go to the next spot, put it down, look down at my level, oh, it's a little bit off, fix it, turn it, and go. So the other thing that I highly recommend with this screen is that in your tight spots like bathrooms, sometimes you might have to angle your camera to get out of the mirror, and you want to make sure that you can turn your screen so it's not leaning up against a wall. And again, you can look up, you can look right down on it. Maybe you have to go below the counter so your camera's not in the mirror, because you don't want to do this in Photoshop. And all you have to do is take your screen and tilt it down, and then you can bend down and you can look up at your screen. So that's going to be much easier than you trying to look in here if you're in a tight spot, because sometimes you do have to contort your body. So the other recommendation I would have is you definitely want to get a lens hood, because a lens hood is going to protect your really expensive lens. There was a time where I was out, it was a springtime, and I didn't notice the step, and I fell down. I had my camera in my hand. It was actually in my right hand. I'm right-handed. And when I fell, the camera landed directly on the ground, just like that, and it broke the lens hood. If I didn't have the lens hood on it, I would have broke my lens, and then I would have had to shell out several $100s, if not thousands, to get a new lens. With that said too, is always carry your camera in your non-dominant hand, because when you fall, and you're going to fall at some point, naturally what we do is we put our dominant hand out. So if you're carrying your camera with your dominant hand, like I was that time about 3 years ago, I used my dominant hand to brace my fall, and I used my camera. Yeah, I was scraped up, I was bleeding, I had cuts all over me because I fell really hard on this gravel pavement. My first thought was, oh my God, I hope my camera's okay, because that's what we do. So those are just a few different tips. when you're out there shopping for a camera. You don't need the high-end camera, right? You can start off with something really affordable. You know, important things. I mean, if you can get that flip out screen, spend the extra money to get that. It's really going to save you time and on your body as well. If I was going to spend more money on, if I was going to invest money in something more than anything else in my equipment, I would spend more money on getting a higher end lens. But again, if you can't, that's okay. Just get started. So just want to share those quick tips with you. I hope that helped. If you have any other questions, let me know. I appreciate you. See you soon.